Okay, are you all settled and comfortable?
Does this look okay?
Yep. Um, so this session we're going to think about certain goals that maybe we can meet um, in our sessions together,
Okay.
and we can either come up with them with each other, or and we don't have to think about it right now. It might come out when we go through the session about certain things that you might want to get out of these meetings together.
Okay.
So what brings you in today?
Um, well, I was just thinking that it would be nice for me to be at peace with myself, with my sister, and I don't know if I can do anything actually with my sister because she doesn't ever want to talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very threatening for her to talk about sensitive things. It is hard for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but she won't do it. She will leave, or she will make a nasty comment and turn around and walk out. And other than tying her down physically, I don't know if it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't know if I want to anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I'm 80 and she is, so that would make her 68.
Okay.
And I have tried to figure out some kind of a working relationship with her for a long time, and I'm ready to give up with her, except that I want to feel more peaceful about it myself.
So the problem is that um, there is unresolved issues with another person, but the other person is not willing to be involved in the healing process.
Yeah, that's right.
Does she feel like there's anything there to heal?
Well, at at one point, she said, how did she say it? She said that I've decided to I can't remember how she said it. Let it go. Something like that. But it was never clear what exactly she was talking
Yeah.
about.
So a little elusive. Let's go back and kind of get the um, dynamics of your family.
Okay.
So, did you grow up with married parents?
Yep. I felt like it was the perfect childhood for me. I was born just before the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
And my next sibling, my sister, my middle sister, was born right after the war. And then my youngest sister was born 5 years after that.
Okay.
So we're all kind of spread out.
And it's your youngest sister that you're talking about?
Yes. And she was only 5 when I left for college, and I was 17. And I would hear my mom mention how much Wanda cried when I left. And I thought, oh, isn't that sweet?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't take it seriously like it was, like she was abandoned,
Mm-hmm.
like I was abandoning her.
Mm-hmm.
That's only been in the last 10 or so years that I've actually come to think that it was more serious than it sounded
Mm-hmm.
at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she has been trying to get even with me ever since. I don't know, it's like her dependence on me as a child, and I left. Gradually over the years, it's like it's calcified and became hatred instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I've apologized to her. I wrote her a long letter.
Did you, in the letter, were you specific about what you were apologizing for?
Well, I said I'm trying to figure out why you have this feeling of anger toward me. And I'm guessing, and I'm wondering if it was because I left to go to college. And I asked her questions, but I never received an answer of any kind, either in writing or she never mentioned the letter to me. Could have been one of those letters that she prided herself on not reading. Because at one point she said she wasn't going to read my emails. So I don't know, maybe she never read it. But I've talked with my middle sister about this, and the two of us have pondered and talked about it a lot, and she thinks maybe it's true that that's what happened. But nobody knows, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I think basically she cares for me, but not so much that she would ever pick up the phone and call or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not in contact.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives here in the Twin Cities. So my other sister lives in Bismarck. So there would be a possibility of actually having a sister in town. But she doesn't act like a sister. I just feel like she still would rather have me as a mother than a sister.
Mm-hmm. Well, and maybe that transition never happened for her. Of moving you from mother figure to sister figure.
Yeah, I think it's true. And I don't know if it was up to me to help her with that transition. I mean, I feel like it's too late now. I mean, I've tried treating her as an adult ever since she's been an adult. But she won't have it.
Has she ever talked about what life was like when you left?
She hasn't, but I have heard from other people that she wasn't a very nice kid. I've heard that she was a bully to other kids in the neighborhood. And I know that she was brought home by the police once for shoplifting. I mean, this is something that my middle sister and I would never have dreamed of doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we ran around with I was with the intellectuals in my class, and Paula, I think, was in with the popular kids. But we both had great grade averages and everything. But we were in with nice kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Wanda selected those kids. I think she selected kids that she could boss around.
Mm-hmm.
And that she felt superior to.
Mm-hmm.
And I never had that need. because I just didn't want to be in that position. And I think Paula was in that position naturally because people put her there because she was so popular and pretty. And
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know, maybe Wanda tried to get that position by making sure she was with kids that were what she felt was below her. I don't know though. I don't know. This is just how I see it when I look back. But of course I haven't had this conversation with her because she won't.
She won't talk.
It's too deep. It's too personal. It's too threatening to her.
Is there a story that you can think about that kind of maybe gives me a picture of the family dynamic?
Just in later years, Paula mentioned, I think it was when one of her kids was getting married. And I arrived on the scene. Maybe it was when her daughter got married. That was the first one of her kids to get married. And she said when I walked in, she just breathed a sigh of relief. And that everything was going to be okay. Everything was fine because Brenda was here. And I didn't think too much of it, but she has said that a couple times since. And then it made me feel like maybe I was more important than I ever thought I was to the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at other relationships that I have. I remember my old boyfriend. He was older than I, but it was also a while ago, so that's what I mean by old boyfriend. He said that he had a feeling of comfort with me. And of course he said comfort because he's French, C-O-N-F-O-R-T. That just kind of added to this picture of myself that I was kind of beginning to see that I hadn't realized.
Mm-hmm. So maybe even looking at thinking about these stories in your life and finding patterns. Obviously, like you said before, you're not going to be able to connect with your younger sister, but it seems like you can connect with your middle one.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps there's some information there that can be investigated, and maybe we can maybe set up some goals around that communication within who's left within your family.
Something that you said, I don't think we were recording at the time, but something that you said I've been thinking about a lot. And that was that maybe that was my role in the family. And it never occurred to me that if, when I came home, that the whole family breathed a sigh of relief. And that I was some kind of a comfort maker in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Not just with Paula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that never occurred to me, and I've really been thinking about that, and I think it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not have realized it either, because maybe they never.
No, I mean, I feel like in your stories that you tell, there is this realization. You are the one that's not realizing. You know, I think the family was more harmonious with everyone there because the peacemaker was there or the comfort maker was there, and you don't know what it was like when you're gone.
Well, here's another story that I remember. I was talking to my sister, the one that I can communicate with, Paula. We have really good talks. We can talk about anything. And I was just idly thinking, I asked her, have you ever wondered if you walk through the world, just blithely walking through the world, and you leave a path of destruction in your wake? And instead of laughing, I mean, this was just a completely hypothetical thing that I thought was kind of funny. Paula said, well, you should really think about that. And I thought, I've thought about that for a long time after she said that, because she took it seriously. And I thought, does she think that I am causing destruction and not knowing about it? Like I'm so out of touch with everybody, like my family and everybody, that I don't even know what destruction I'm causing. And then when we started looking for patterns in my family, I realized I wasn't looking at it from the right perspective. And it was like the family was harmonious when I was there, but when I left, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I was causing the destruction,
Mm-hmm.
but just my absence threw things into turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I supposed to do? Stay home
Well,
forever?
and
You
this
know,
is
I never knew, though.
this is a good place to start, because remember, you're the older sister by quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so there may be an unconscious feeling of your younger sisters for you to come in, sweep in, and fix everything, like a parent would do.
I remember one time Paula was making coffee, and she kind of tapped. It was drip coffee, so it's the kind where you pour the boiling water into the top of the coffee maker, and it seeps through, and then it leaves these wet grounds in a little basket. And in order to make the next batch of coffee, you have to throw those grounds out. And so she had that little basket, and she was just kind of tapping it against the edge of the garbage, and it loosened up the coffee grounds. Now, this might sound really stupid to you, but something that I remembered for all these years. I said, well, that's a good idea. And Paula said, well, sometimes the younger sister has some good ideas too. And I was just thinking that was a good idea, and she was so aware that she was the younger sister and she came up with a good idea. And that kind of shocked me, because I didn't think of her as my younger sister. I thought of her as an adult. We were both adults with families and everything.
This might not have anything to do between your relationship in kind of a secondary way, but it might be more telling of your parents.
That could be. That could be.
I mean,
because it was something that I was gone, and they might have talked about me in some way that made, I don't know, made me more than I was or something. I'm not sure. It was like I was an unseen presence even when I wasn't there. And maybe I'm just starting to wonder about that now, and unfortunately there aren't that many people I can ask about it. I can talk to Paula about it, hopefully at some point. But I feel like if I try to get to the bottom of it with Wanda, she will turn it against me somehow. Because at times when I did confide in her about things, she would turn it against me. Like if I asked her for help with my children when my kids were little, she would turn it into the fact that I couldn't take care of my children. So I learned not to confide in her because I couldn't trust her with my feelings. They came back to me in a state that I didn't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I meant. You know, I didn't mean that I couldn't take care of my children if I asked someone to help me with my children. But I feel like that's how she looks at things. And I feel like I want to protect myself and my family from that kind of attitude. I can't change who she is. I can just take the parts that I'm okay with and leave the rest. I think I've probably figured out how to deal with the specter of Wanda. I don't have to deal with the person because she isn't part of my life. She doesn't want to be. And so, therefore, I don't want her to be either.
So I think in the next few sessions that we work together, I think focusing on your relationship with your younger sister and figuring out some healing goals to reach, keeping in mind you're not going to probably be able to reach out directly to her. Those are some things that we can figure out. So how about between now and then you have some time that you can think about it, and then maybe we can even come up with some goals together.
Okay, that sounds good.